What's going on? Welcome into BP Insight. So yeah, I was listening to Austin Dunham and the other guy, How To Beast. They're talking about, a lot of guys find a girl that's high attractive to them and they initially get in a relationship with them. That's just like that is a prime example of what happens with the scarcity mindset. Some guys do not get a lot of good treatment from women, sadly. So when they do find one really attractive girl that's into them, that comes over consistently, goes on dates with them, they immediately settle down with that girl, and that's just it's a bad mindset to have, because that's how you can really get screwed over. Because I think a lot of guys, the problem with the scarcity mindset is you don't really see some of the red flags in the girl as easy. And when you don't see the red flags in the girl, then it's easier to get that's kind of a recipe for a potential heartbreak. Because if you're not seeing the red flags, then it's probably going to come back to bite you at some point. Yeah, you got to be able to recognize some of those red flags in girls. Some of them are not always obvious. Some of them are obvious. Austin Dunham talked about, a lot of women are just masculine. I think that's one thing I've said. I don't think guys talk about that enough. There is just a lot of girls that they're very masculine, and it's just hard. It's hard to be with them because you're always you can't just, as a man, it's difficult to try to out-masculine a woman. Like, you don't want to be playing that game. Because if you're spending too much time trying to out-masculine her, trying to be the dominant leader, then how effective can the relationship be? When a masculine man is supposed to go with a feminine woman. It's kind of that's like peanut butter and jelly. Masculine man, feminine woman. It's always been the recipe for a healthy relationship. But yeah, Austin Dunham, he's a guy who really has built up a lot of options. He talks about how you can go on a date each day. That's, that, to me, that's ideally where you want to get as a man, where you can go on a date each day. You have that's the type of options ideally you want. You can just be like, you want so many options that you want to be able to say, oh, I've grinded all day, I'm a little bit tired, I know I could go on a date, but I could choose to continue to improve my business, work on my social media presence. That's the ideally where you want to get to in life, that type of level. But yeah, that guy, I like listening to Austin Dunham. He's a guy that just gets it. Pretty humble guy. A lot of people really respect what he preaches on YouTube. He was on Fresh and Fit. I remember he was one of the most requested guests for Fresh and Fit. So, yeah, he's a cool dude, humble guy, a guy that's just, invested a lot of time into fitness and understanding female nature. So that's why I can relate to the guy, because there's two things that I'm interested in: learning as much as I can about female nature, learning as much as I can about women, and learning about fitness and increasing my fitness each day, learning how to better myself in the gym, learning how to do harder workouts, learning how proper nutrition, something he talks about too. So that's why I'm really interested in his content, because his niche is really catered toward a guy like me that's big into the gym, fitness, and learning about female nature. So that's why I've always kind of that's why I've always been interested in his content. He's been doing content for a long time now. He's really built up quite the presence. He was a guy that he interested me because he was a believer in getting professional photos done on dating apps, something that I've always has been a believer in, even though I'm not the biggest proponent of dating apps. I think getting professional photos is huge. It's an excellent way to stand out. So if you got professional photos, your picture's gonna immediately pop. Because a lot of dudes just have some stupid mirror pic selfies on dating apps. If you got professional photos, those really can stand out on a dating app page, or not even just dating app page, but Instagram. You talked about a lot of his dates come from Instagram. You know, a lot of people meet on Instagram. He talked in one video, you know, a lot of people, they hook up, it goes, you know, it's like the Yo Gotti song, it goes down in the DM. That's what he talks about. You know, a lot of attractive guys, I think, like I hear stories of Division One, like the D1 athletes, because they're so busy, they just DM attractive girls like in their area or in their hometown. You know, that's really how it kind of goes down. Because, you know, I talk about cold approach just is not always, guys just don't really do cold approach. Obviously, if you're an attractive guy, you're gonna have better results cold approaching, but also if you're an attractive guy, you're gonna have better results online too. So you might as well just, you know, cold approach online. You might as well you might as well just DM online too. But yeah, fascinating. Yeah, Dunham, fascinating guy to listen to. How to Beast, that David guy. He's an interesting guy as well. They've both been on Fresh and Fit. Talk about how they were, you know, growing up, they weren't always the, you know, the most social guy. But yeah, I really enjoyed, you know, I've only about 20, 30 minutes into that interview, but really enjoyed it. But yeah, I think, you know, for most guys, I think another thing, and this is kind of the struggle I felt a little bit, I think for most guys, I think if you're a good looking guy, like in my case, that needs to get his money up, needs to get some, you know, status, influence out in the world, I think the problem I have is, and I think I've kind of always had this issue, I think, or not, maybe, I don't know, I'd say problem, it's a good problem to have for the most part, and I think a lot of guys feel this too. A lot of guys just really want very attractive girls. I think, you know, people talk about how girls go for the top percentage guys. I think in a way, a lot of guys are going for, a lot of guys deep down, even though sometimes I think they settle, I think a lot of guys want the top, some of the top looking girls, but not, obviously not every guy can do that. Because I've noticed that, like, especially if you're on a college campus, there's a lot of cute girls. Like, you see a lot of 6s, 7s, but the girls I've noticed that were in a relationship are girls that are like, some people would probably say they're 9s. I'd say they're probably 8s. They're the very attractive girls. I noticed those are the ones that are in relationships, and not, obviously this is not always the case, but that's why I think I say 7s a lot of times. 6s, 7s have the most overinflated and sense of ego, because they can get a lot of attention from different amounts of guys. And I think sometimes 6s, 7s can get actually even the most attention, because I think a lot of guys think the same thing. They think they're easier to obtain than attractive girls. That's what I've noticed too. I think that's one thing that's not really talked about enough is 6s, 7s, they get, well, obviously all girls get attention, but they get almost as much attention, 6s and 7s, as 8s, 9s, and maybe not as 10s, but 6s and 7s, they're right there with, you know, attention from 8s and 9s, just because, you know, a lot of guys think the same thing. You know, this girl's, she's cute, but she's not that cute. So that's why, you know, that boils back to the argument of why you should just approach girls that you find the most attractive. Because if you're going to get rejected, if you're going to get turned down by a majority of women anyways, you might as well just go for the women you really want.